So previously we were studying the downfall of Mughal Empire, and all of our lessons were on the discussion of the reasons for the collapse of the Mughals. Nawal, could you please confirm if I'm audible to you and if my voice is perfectly clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Just give me a second. I'll plug in the earphones just in case. And now, is it clearer now?
Yes,
Okay. So basically, we had a discussion over the downfall of Mughals recently, and we came to a conclusion that the entrance of British was one of the most important reasons for the decline of Mughal Empire, and that was because it was a completely new um, dynasty that had taken over. The British had these battles with the Mongols, and they were more interested in um, political control of the subcontinent. And for these reasons, the British were becoming more interested in India every day. They were becoming more interested in the political matters of the subcontinent, and that is and they played very strategically in terms of how their power, how their control expanded. This East India Company is the next topic that we're studying today. This is a trading company that was established by the British to sort of initiate trade with India, and through this trading company, they became more involved in the commercial and political matters of the subcontinent. So, if you study the history of British colonizing rule, they everywhere like the colonies they created, they used to start off by signing off by setting up these trading companies, and these trading companies used to like become involved in the matters of subcontinent, gradually taking over the control. So East India Company was this company that was established in the subcontinent with the intent of trading first. Ranjit Singh was the ruler of Punjab. We're studying the 4 mark questions that are relevant to this chapter, about people, about places, about events. So let's first of all understand what these people were, who these people were, what these events were, so we can get a better understanding of this topic. Ranjit Singh was the ruler of Punjab, and so what the British were doing now, they were trying to take over different areas of the subcontinent. They were having these battles. We discussed this 25-year battle of Marathas with Aurangzeb, and that meant that it was already a time of conflict. These different foreign invaders were actually invading the subcontinent. Now, when the British came in, they started off with these battles with the subcontinent in different provinces, different areas. And the reason for these battles were, just to expand their control, just to gradually take over different areas of the subcontinent. So Ranjit Singh was a very dominant, very influential ruler of Punjab at that time, the province Punjab. When he was alive, the British had no courage to attack him because he was so powerful. And the British even accepted his authority in Punjab. That meant that they understood and accepted that Ranjit Singh was their ruler as well in the province, and they would obey with every policy and every legislation that the ruler decides to pass. But as soon as Ranjit Singh died, the British they attacked on Punjab. That meant it meant that they were trying to expand their rule in Punjab too. All right.
yes,
Okay. So then there was Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan was the ruler of Mysore, but this is another province. And Tipu Sultan and his father Hyder Ali, they had these different battles with British called the Anglo-Mysore Wars. Now, this also means that the British were trying to expand their control over Mysore as well, having a series of battles. And Tipu Sultan was killed in the final Anglo-Mysore War because he was betrayed by his General Mir Sadiq. Mir Sadiq was the general of the Tipu Sultan army, and he betrayed him. So a lot of generals used to be disloyal to their own armies. And why? Because they used to, uh, leak out war tactics to the enemy, um, help out the enemies and the opponents, like instead of helping their own army. That is how their own armies used to leave. And why were like these generals disloyal? Because they generally, the opponents used to promise heavy amounts of gifts, even rulership of certain areas, governorship, money in return. So that's how they used to betray their own armies. And this is how the British got control over Mysore. All right, guys, is this clear up till now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then Robert Clive. Robert Clive was a British general. He was a very powerful, very well trained, very skillful British general, and he fought in battles of Plassey and Buxar. I'm going to explain the Battle of Plassey and Buxar in the upcoming chapters, but for now, just know that these were some more battles that the British had with the Indians, and these two battles have always been an example of how strong the British were and how easily they were. They plundered into such important provinces. Battle of Plassey took place over Bengal. Bengal was a very, very important province of India in terms of the agricultural products, in terms of the riches of that area. The British had this battle and they easily took over Bengal. And same goes for Battle of Buxar as well. A few years later, like Battle of Plassey took place in 1756, and Battle of Buxar took place in 1764. So, like just a couple of years later, 8 years later, this new battle happened, and the British even won the other battle. So Robert Clive was the one who was leading their army in this battle. He was the one who even defeated the French, and he became a very important figure in the eyes of the British after these battles. And this is why he was appointed as the governor of Bengal, just because he um, was able to conquer the Indian lands. But later he got addicted to opium and committed suicide. This is about Robert Clive. So, guys, for these questions, you just have to know four important details. This is the first type of level marking responses. And in these questions, you guys are just supposed to know any four details. So, if let's say a question comes up on who was Robert Clive, you would be writing obviously in a paragraph format, but 4 points covered in that paragraph. So you could maybe pick up the first 4 points that you think are important. Okay, so any points that out of from these, because some of the answer options they already have 4 points. You just gotta like know those four details. If you know any other details, just pick up the most important ones and write those in your answers. Okay, that's how we're supposed to attempt a 4 mark response. Clear up till now?
Yes.
Okay, then Charles Napier. Charles Napier was another officer of the British Army. He was assigned the Sindh command for the province Sindh in 1842. So basically, Sindh was another important province for the British, and they wanted to take over Sindh. So in 1843, British conquered Sindh, and they were successful. And Charles Napier became the governor of Sindh. So now, if we look through the what was happening, Punjab was under British control. British had come into Delhi as well. They had conquered Sindh. They had conquered Mysore, the Anglo-Mysore wars with Tipu Sultan. Um, yeah, so they had taken over so many important provinces up till now. And when Napier was the governor of Sindh, he established a model police force. He was more interested in trade, worked for the water supply of Karachi, breakwater system. So, these were all the projects that he had undertaken as the governor of Sindh. So, right now, Karachi is a part of Pakistan, but initially this was all a single continent, the subcontinent. And that is why we call it as India as well, because India was another name of subcontinent. And then the partition happened. So basically, under the subcontinent, these are all the provinces. Punjab, Bengal, Sindh. So the British were sort of conquering all of these provinces through these battles. And then comes the Act of Parliament of 1773, when in the Battle of Plassey, I told you guys under the leadership of Robert Clive, they attempted to take over Bengal through Battle of Plassey and Buxar, 56 and 1764. Once they took over Bengal, they started this misgovernment over there. The British, they started imposing heavy taxation on the people of India at that time. They were trying to control the narratives. They were trying to control the power. Nobody was able to speak or protest against the government. People were not allowed to, continue their own trades. So they were trying to establish this monopoly over the people of Bengal. And when the British government in the UK, they got to know about this misgovernment, they tried to stop it. They passed this act of parliament which required EIC to provide good governance and to stop this anarchy. This India Act was passed later after the Act of Parliament that became the official governing law. So, up till now, just to summarize what was happening, the British started these series of battles with different parts of India, Punjab, Mysore, Bengal, Sindh, and they were successful in these battles because the Indians were either too weak or they were disloyal. They used to sell out war tactics to the British, and the British took control of uh, the areas. And then, when they were in Bengal, the most important province of that time, the misgovernment was stopped by the British government, and they wanted EIC to provide good governance. In 1784, like 9 years after, sorry, 11 years after the India Act, sorry, the Act of Parliament, the India Act was passed, which was um, a way of British government taking direct control of the possessions of subcontinent. The governor generals, the provincial governors, the commander in chiefs were all appointed by the British government in India. A professional civil service, police force, legal system was set up on British lines, and EIC, the East India Company, was allowed to trade and not have its administrative powers. Guys, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's anything that's not clear, please feel free to ask because these are a bit technical topics that we're studying. So if there's anything that you find challenging, please ask. Okay. So up till now, after the Act of Parliament of 1773, when EIC was asked to stop the misgovernment, the India Act of 1784 was passed, and this India Act meant that the EIC would only be trading and will not be involved in any administration or power exertion over India. That their role was just limited to a trading company. And then this Charter Act of 1833 was passed. But before we study Charter Act, I want to show you guys a video about East India Company. It is a very interesting piece of information that you guys will find very useful. Um, Let me know if can you guys see the screen now? I mean, the YouTube screen? No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys will let me know if you can hear this as well. Can you guys hear this video?
Yes, sir, we can hear it.
You can hear it?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay,
Yes.
this is like 1 minute and 46 seconds video. Let's quickly watch it. And this is just a brief overview about East India Company, what we've studied, and then we'll have the discussion.
Founded in 1600, the East India Company trades goods from England with India. The company pays local rulers in India for permission to open trading centres in Surat, Bombay, Calicut, Madras and Calcutta. The goods they bring back from India include saltpetre, used in the manufacture of gunpowder, and indigo dye as well as silk and cotton, the cotton being woven into cheap cloth that we then sell back to India. The East India Company has its own army to act as guards. It also has its own military academy. Most of its private soldiers are Indian men, trained to European standards and led by British officers. France also has trade interests in India, which has led to hostilities, with the French being defeated by Clive of India at the Battle for Calcutta and then the decisive Battle of Plassey. This was part of what we called the 7 Years' War, after which the East India Company, with the help of its powerful army, has increased its power in India and been able to place India entirely under British rule. India is known as the jewel in the crown.
Look at the summary. Uh, this is just a brief overview of how East India Company entered India in the 1600s with the permission of trading. And when these important goods that were grown in India, like saltpeter, silk, they were, they sort of got these products from India and took them to the UK and produced their own products like cotton, clothes, garments, sort of created out of saltpeter and silk. But when they created these finished products, they didn't sell them back to India, right? This meant that they were just doing a one-way trade. They were taking the wealth out of India, but they were not selling any products back in the subcontinent. Then, the Battle of Plassey of 1756 and 57, the Battle of Buxar of 1764, all of these are very important examples of how power sort of shifted from the Indian lands to the British control. All right, is all clear up now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you guys see the notes screen now again? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Charter Act of 1833 now. Right after, just a second, please. All right. So yeah, Charter Act of 1833 was basically now this act of parliament that renewed East India Company's charter for another 20 years. That meant that the East India Company was allowed to trade with the subcontinent for the next 20 years. And Indians could now become part of the administrative body through civil service. Civil service exams were basically these administrative exams that, let's say, if you, being a common Indian, wanted to be a part of the administration of the government, you would have to clear the civil service exams and then become a part of the government. Now it looks like a very inclusive law that was trying to include the Indians, but uh, originally the CSS exams were just in English, and most of the Indians didn't know how to read, write, or speak English. That meant that it was another problem for the Indians. And although it sounded like a very inclusive policy, originally it was just power show. It was just a it was just about the optics that this is what they were trying to do, but originally they were trying to keep the Indians away from all the administrative matters. Companies' commercial activities were closed down. It made into an administrative body for the British Indian possessions. That now East India Company was not just trading, but they were also looking after the Indian possessions. They were administering everything now. Their trade links with China closed down. The act permitted English to settle freely in India. So any Britisher who wanted to settle in India was allowed to settle in India freely, whereas no Indian was allowed to travel to the UK. Country's administration was unified under one control. The act legalized British colonization of the country. Now, this is where the British became the official colonizers of the subcontinent, the India and Pakistan present day. So this shows that the British government had now officially taken over the control of the subcontinent lands. I hope you guys are able to make sense of the chain of events that we had studied from the decline of Mughals to these different battles to British expansion and how their control expanded the subcontinent where they became the official colonizers.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
perfect. Now we will be doing a follow-up assignment over these questions that we had just studied. Okay. I will stop the recording here. Wait.